Okay. It's gonna be a short video because I'm gonna get back to sleep so I can get up in a few hours and start driving. But I was looking at a video that was on his brother's channel. I can't think of the brother's channel, but I want to give a shout out to him. But I would say this. This video was basically, he showed where you had this white woman basically explaining why black women don't really have an ownership on black men. This YT woman said black women really don't have an ownership on black men. And my thoughts on that, I'm going to tell you like this. My thoughts on that is that we really don't have no ownership on nobody, to be honest. White men don't really have an ownership, even though they think they do have an ownership over white women. Just like black women don't have an ownership over black men. But let's go with this whole narrative that somehow we are black men are property of black women. And for some reason, it's always been this undergoing narrative that somehow black men are property of black women. And I always used to hear a long time ago from people that say black men need to be with black women. And at one time, I believed it. I literally believed that black men belong with black women. That black men need to have family and have children with black women. And I believed in all that shit. But as years gone by and I got older, and I always noticed this whole trend where you have black women sit in profession they love for white men, and they negative image that white men bestowed on black men due to, being objected to bouts of poverty in urban areas, and due to the red line and the gerrymandering of the black community, they targeted white male society targeted black men. So when you target a group of people, you mainly create these negative stereotypes about black men not being fathers, being basically shiftless and shit, right? So you have black women saying, well, they didn't want to have or they didn't give a fuck about black men. They divested and swirled it up, right? You had that movement, and you had, for the most part, white men partaking in black women, basically throwing black men under the bus. So you had this going on even during from slavery all the way up into Reconstruction, Jim Crow. Like I said, you had that movie, The Jingle Unchained, where you had a whole house called the Candyland, that was owned by John Candy. And he had you had everybody just think this just in a TV movie. No, you had a lot of that in the South, where you had black women that were in whorehouses that were owned by white men. Even doing all the way after that into damn near into Reconstruction, you still had that going on during Reconstruction, during the time when black men were getting lynched up and burned in private organs getting cut off and lynched and burned. You had white men, after they had their good time doing that to black men, they're normally go to a whorehouse that was owned by a white man that had black women in it. And they'll celebrate with alcohol sex and all this shit with black women. And this shit went on to actually, it lost favor in the 20s and 30s and shit. So you have black males still getting subjugated by black men, by white women, and by white men, because it's always this undergoing narrative that black women like to blame white women for shit. The reality is, black women always wanted white womanhood. So in order to get white womanhood, you got to denounce the black man who stood in your way of white womanhood. So you had that dynamic that still goes on today. You have black women that still want white womanhood and the only way they can get white womanhood is they gotta basically divest themselves from black men. You did. So what happened is, all the way through this time, you had the civil rights movement, moving on to the civil rights movement. Black women was messing with black women were in relationships with white men, having sex with white men, all that shit, getting knocked up, having children by white men, YT men. So it wasn't no problem that white men having sex with black women. It was a problem that they didn't want to have white women being in relationships with black men, and they safeguarded that because they didn't want to have a whole bunch of they white women running over there to Tyrone, being with Tyrone, like you had all these armies of white men basically messing with black women, not marrying them, but just basically messing around with them. And you have, that's where you had all these biracial children in the movie Imitation of Life and all that shit. So you had that going on in the background. So basically, after the civil rights movement, even though I'm not saying you didn't have that dynamic up north where you had black men and white women in relationships, yes, you did have it, but most times those relationships had those people moved into Canada due to the fact they was being discriminated against in southern cities or even in the Midwest. A lot of them moved to Minnesota and places like that. That's why they said Minnesota was the birthplace of interracial love between black men and white women. That's why you had a high biracial population in Minnesota and Wisconsin. This is a known fact. So with that, you move on to the 70s and stuff like that, after the civil rights movement, and then you started having more and more black men and white women to get into interracial relationships, and it was still looked down upon by white men, even though white men was basically laying with black women, having children out of wedlock, like Thad Thurman, who was a known Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan in Virginia, was had a biracial daughter. That's just one of his daughters. They said he had numerous children by black women. But because you had a lot of these white men, as they call it, dipping into black women, knocking black women up, having children out of wedlock, but not taking care of that responsibility. That's why when white men try to talk this bullshit about black men having children out of wedlock, I don't want to hear none of their bullshit, because they the biggest, who beat them being the biggest bastard baby makers on the planet is that white man going around the world making children with Vietnamese women during the Vietnam War. We ain't gonna even go about this shit, because anytime white men try to talk about the degeneracy of black culture, that culture literally comes from him. That's the culture that white man created when he took us from Africa. We wasn't doing none of the shit that we was doing now before we met this Peckerwood crack. Before him, he the one was living debaucherous ass lives, but yet they try to make them, he try to make himself look like he an image of wholesome Christianity. Get the fuck out of here. But anyway, this black man and black women, black men and white women are now becoming more frequent. And see, what's going on is you having black women being left out. Black women are just still being, basically, like the sister said, black women are having more interracial sex with white men, but not getting interracially married by white men. Whereas you have black men, getting married to white women in more higher numbers than black women are getting married to white men. Now, a lot of black women are always used this, talking about, well, then you got more black men in relationships with white women. True, you do have black men in more marriages with white women than black women. So do that make black women somehow pro-black because they waiting on black men to get with them? No, wrong. What it is, black women are having more interracial sex than black men are getting married to white women. The only thing is, black women are not getting married. They're not getting married. Brad is not marrying black women. He just laying up with black women. And people always say, well, how is that any different? That's different. That makes a great deal. You have black men getting married to black women. You have black men getting married to white women in higher numbers than white men are marrying black women. Now both, let's be honest, both populations are very small. You don't have that many black men. They want to make it look as though it's black men running around here just snatching up white women, marrying them. That's not true. It's still a drop in the bucket because you actually have more black men and black women are getting married. But when you pull up, they'll make it look as though it's a whole bunch of Tyrones running around here snatching up all the Beckys and getting married to them, and black women are being pro-black, waiting on black men, and it's because black men running off with white women. That's not the true case. The reality is black women are secretly having more sex with white men and not getting married than black men getting married to white women. That's the dynamic. So this comes to this question: who do black men belong to? Do black men belong to black women or white women? Black men don't belong to no group of women, just like black women don't belong to black men. Just like white women don't belong to motherfucking white men. We all are individuals. We do what the fuck we want. We grown. You know, got nothing to do with who owns white men or black men or white women or white men. Individually, if that's what you want to be with, you go pick what you want to be with, what's better for you. And what happened is just been a lot more black men and white women forming Voltron than black women, white men choosing black women. Them just the facts. It don't got nothing to do with who black men. We don't know black women have no ownership of black men. They don't have no ownership of black men. Black men, we do what the fuck we want to do. Now, some of us like me, I'm only attracted to black women. So regardless of the shit that black women do, I'm still vastly attracted to black women. But let's be honest, black women got no ownership over me. I'm a grown ass motherfucking man. If I want to go and get with a white woman, I'm gonna go and get with a white woman, regardless of what they want, what they think or not. Just like they go out here and get with white men, YT men. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. I don't have no ownership. Black men never had ownership of black women. And black women sure don't have ownership over black men. I hope that I broke that down for you all to, in this explanation for you all to understand. Good morning.